On behalf of the Technology Center of the Czech Academy of Sciences, I would like to welcome you at the Czech National Information Day on ERC grants. My name is Lyudmyla Tysyachna, and I'm the Czech NCP for the European Research Council grants and Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions. I'll navigate you throughout today's event. This year's National Information Day is kindly co-organized with the European Research Council Executive Agency, Charles University, and the ERC expert group for supporting Czech applicants. Before I pass the floor to our honorable speakers, I'd like to mention briefly the housekeeping rules for today, because this event is hybrid. So the event is recorded, and throughout the event, we will use Slido for raising questions. To pose a question, please enter the hashtag ERC or use the QR code that is portrayed on the screen. Participants who are present here can, of course, raise the question. Just raise your hand and we will pass you the microphone. Without further ado, I'd like to pass the floor to Professor Milena Králíčková and Professor Eva Zažímalová, who are the representatives of the two Czech institutions that we are most grateful for supporting the Czech national system available to Czech applicants for ERC grants. So the floor is yours.
Dear Professor Zažímalová, dear colleagues, dear ladies and gentlemen, it's my great pleasure and really honor to welcome you at the Charles University by the occasion of ERC Day. I would like to say two things. I would like to thank the group of experts who are led by Professor Zdeněk Strakoš and who for many years already are really helping not only the ERC applicants, but all the institutions that are home of the applicants, because the ERC work and the pipeline that helps to take care of everybody who's trying to apply for ERC is extremely important work, not only because of the applicants, but also for all the institutions that should be influenced and are actually always influenced by any of this success of the ERC proposals. Second thing which I would like to mention is that I would like to thank you all who came today and who are interested in this pathway towards ERC. It's not an easy journey. It doesn't have to be even a straight journey. There can be many steps that can be before the ERC crown of that journey. Here at our Charles University, for example, we have a Primus scheme that should help all those of you who would like to apply for ERC. Another step towards ERC can be Marie Skłodowska actions. And there are many other steps that can lead to the ERC goal and crown. But I would like to thank you all who are interested in this pathway, because that's kind of signal for me that you are also interested in doing excellent research, doing the top topics, be interested in the top topics that influence our society, that can change Europe and world. So these were the two things I wanted to mention, and my thanks should go to Professor Zdeněk Strakoš and the expert group, and also to all of you who are interested and who are willing to undergo this path. I wish you a fruitful day, and I'm really looking forward to meet many of you in the coming months and years on the beautiful path of our life, which is research. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rector Králíčková, and now I'd like to ask Professor Zažímalová for her introductory speech. Thank you.
Dear Madam Rector, dear Dr. Valkárová, dear Professor Strakoš, dear Lida, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, let me to greet you briefly on behalf of the Czech Academy of Sciences. We actually many times discussed the reasons why there are so little ERC grants in the Czech Republic. And actually recently, in the middle of September, we met as the representatives of V4 countries' academies with Maria Leptin in Brussels, and we discussed this as well. There are, of course, it's a very complex situation. ERC grants are one of the best grants in the world, if not the best ones, because they are very generous. There is very little administrative and bureaucratic burden connected with grants. It's purely scientific, and it's a relatively long-lasting. So these are all advantages, and I think that many people should ask for ERC grants from the Czech Republic. And the fact that there are relatively low number of applicants for ERC grants from the Czech Republic, from the Czech institutions, is one of the reasons why there are not so many ERC grants in the Czech Republic. The situation is improving, and what is hopeful is the fact that that these grants are mostly starting and consolidator grants. It means they are for young people. For advanced grants, the situation is much worse, and there are again many reasons, but I think that the most important of them is the fact that my generation actually spent the most, let's say, scientifically fruitful years under communistic regime. We were not allowed to travel, etc., etc. So our CV could not compete with people from the scientifically advanced countries. So this is improving, and I'm very happy that for starting and consolidator grants, the situation is improving. What is also important, I think, is the fact that the ERC grants that come to the Czech Republic cover not only natural sciences, which used to be the case in the very beginning, but there are more and more grants from humanities and social sciences. So I am biochemist, so I can say this openly. And there is no conflict of interest. I think that information days like this one are very important to encourage people to try to apply for ERC grant, but also to gain some experience, because it is not an easy task. We are not very well prepared for this. So I am also very thankful to expert groups that actually provide some kind of training for this. So I wish you all who are going to apply for ERC grant good luck, and don't be afraid to try it again and again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Zažímalová, for these important words. Now I'd like to ask an important guest we have here today, Dr. Alice Valkárová, who serves in the ERC Scientific Council. So we have a representative of the governing structure of the ERC. Please.
So thank you for the invitation. So welcome here in this event organized by Technology Center of Academy of Sciences, Charles University, together with ERC. And I am delighted to take part in this today's event, and which is the last event in the series of widening webinars, which has been organized by ERC in context of the ERC widening communication campaign. So you know what is ERC, and that the key component of Horizon, that it is a key component of the Horizon Europe. and the aim is to support the excellent research. So I am a member of ERC Scientific Council and also a member of ERC Scientific Working Group on widening European participation, which was set up with a mission to capitalize on the full potential for frontier research in Europe. So in my presentation, I will show some statistics, some data, and I will explain the activities of this group. The main aim of this group is to extend the possibilities for researchers from widening countries to be successful in ERC course. So please, if you... here is the general statistics. So there are some general statistics, and here are some facts about ERC. So you know that these 27 European member states and the associated countries comprise the European research area, and widening countries are EU 13 countries plus Portugal and Greece. So types of grants you know probably very well. These are starting grants, consolidator grants, advanced grants, synergy grants, and proof of concept grants. And for your information, the ERC has a budget of about 13 billion euros for the period to 2020. And in the previous... Yeah. Yeah. So it is approximately twice as large than in the previous period. So now I will show this figure, which is not very optimistic for us. It is success rate by country. So this is success rate over years 2007 to 2021, and you can see that we Czech Republic on the horizontal axis are countries, and you can see that our success rate is about 6%. And it is comparable with Finland, with Italy, but it is much less than the countries which are on the left. And there are also some associated countries like Switzerland, Israel, and UK, and you can see that these are the most successful in ERC course. So now what are the absolute numbers of ERC grants funded projects by country. So you can see here not very large in this histogram, not very large number of 54 projects, grants which were funded by ERC for Czech Republic. It is comparable with Poland, and a little bit better are doing Hungary and Greece. And you can see that on the left side are almost all others European countries. On the tail, in the right, there are some so-called widening countries. So here it is where work these grantees on their grants. So here is a histogram which shows nationals in host country. This is this red one. Non-nationalists in host country, which is this blue, and this green is these are nationals abroad. So to my surprise, mostly in Germany, nationals are going abroad. And also in Italy. It is not the case in the Czech Republic. It is almost invisible here, but we have not so many people who left with their ERC projects. But also we have not many non-nationalists in Czech Republic who are working on their grants. So here widening countries. So what are the factors behind low performance? So success rate for these widening countries is about 4%. If you compare it with 11 or 12% for the rest of EU countries, it is seen that it is really very bad. So What are the reasons? There are probably many reasons for it, and the one question, natural question, is if it is not done by low investments to research. So here is a histogram which shows the national research and innovation investments as a percentage of gross domestic product, and these lines on top, for example, in the first histogram is a Europe 2020 target. So it is 4%. So some countries are doing rather well, so they are around 3% and so on, but lower. But what we can observe is lower investments in RRI in widening countries. So, and also lower targets. You can see here is also Czech Republic, which achieved this year 2%. And the goal is, target is about 2.7. But anyway, some countries are even much lower than our country. We and Slovenia are here on the top of this from these widening countries. So here is also some correlation between the number of ERC grant. This is absolute number. It is double logarithmic scale in vertical and horizontal lines and axis. And here is a gross expenditure on ARD in 2017 in million euros. And here is the Czech Republic somewhere here. This is a linear fit, and all countries which are doing well in ERC calls, they are in the right side, and you can see that we are under this linear fit. Some countries are, of course, even in the worse situation than we are. So, widening, how well are doing widening countries in ERC calls? So, what is for me? It seems me interesting. It is some correlation, some histogram where are shown ERC projects, and also top 1% top publications in the year 2005 to 2015. So these are so-called highly cited papers, and we can see here. That we have a relatively larger number of these highly cited papers, then it corresponds to the number of grants. So I see it as a possible potential. It means that the problem is probably not only in the quality of our projects, but also in the number of submitted projects. And it is also seen now in the next slide, and it is, you can see this huge difference between the widening countries, which are blue, this blue line, and these red ones, which are all other countries excluding widening countries. So you can see that there is a huge difference between the number of submissions from widening countries and all others. So, and how it looks like in the evaluation. So it is shown here. So here is a step 1. Results from widening countries are compared to all countries for three types of projects: advanced grants, consolidator, and starting grants. And this red part of the histogram are the projects which failed, and they were rejected in the step 1. And here is clearly seen that for widening countries, this amount of projects is about 60% for advanced grants and about 50% for others. And this green part, these are the projects which continue to the step 2, is much smaller than in the case of all countries. So here it is for different countries. So you can see here also Czech Republic here. Here you see that we have 50% of projects are rejected in the first step. It is not so bad like in other widening countries. For example, in Poland, you can see that it is a much larger amount of projects. But here on this tail on the right, so you see that some countries have very few projects which continue to face to step 2. Here is an interesting figure which shows some correlation between the step 1 success rate and step 2 success rate. And here these violet balls are widening countries. And on the horizontal line, there is a step 1 success rate, and in the table you see that the average. This is this vertical. Vertical line here. It represents 12%. Yes. So the step 1 success rate is only 12%, and you can compare it with almost 30% for other countries. What is interesting is when you look to the step 2 success rate, so these numbers are almost identical. Yes, this is for starting grants, but the same is observed also for consolidator and advanced grants. So this is about 43%. It means that when your project pass to step 2, so there is a chance that it will be funded, the same chance that it will be funded as for other projects from other countries. So that's the same success rate. And it is for all types of projects. So it seems that the problem is with step 1, so there are probably many not very good projects. So what is the ERC widening participation policy? So how? Yes. So how to improve the success rates of widening countries? So a number of countries established funding schemes which are inspired to ERC model. So one example is, for example, our Czech Science Foundation, GAČR, which has been modified in 2008 with ERC as an explicit model. And also in Poland, the National Science Center has been set up in 2010, and also ERC is an explicit model for evaluation. So it means that there is a 2 steps evaluation, and that also is this panel structure which is similar to ERC. What is ERC doing? Continuously monitoring the participation to the ERC calls and the success rates. So it's trying to guarantee a fair evaluation process also for widening countries. And raising awareness of ERC among potential applicants and host institutions. So ERC also is providing recommendations to national policymakers, such as, for example, support ERC finalists with national funding. And one of examples is our ERC CZ projects. You know that these are projects which were in A category after the evaluation in the step 2 of ERC, and but they were not funded, and but they are funded by Ministry of Education. So then there is this support of ERC applicants to improve their proposals. I think that there will be talk about it more detailed by next speaker. And also make participation in ERC calls as an essential component in national evaluations. And then it is important to motivate scientists to submit ERC projects. Professor Králíčková mentioned here this Primus, and there is also Expro projects in GAČR, where is also one of conditions to apply for ERC project after the Expro is accomplished. So there are also ERC visiting fellowship programs. So when this allows potential ERC candidates to visit and gain experience with ERC-funded teams. So duration of this visit is 1 to 6 months, and visiting fellows commit to apply for an ERC grant. They need some letter of support, and also national funding agencies cover the travel and salary cost of the fellows for the duration of visit. I must say that we had it in Czech Science Foundation in Gáčer, this program also, but it was not at all successful. So we have only till now, it is not in this table, but till now we have only one person who was a visitor, and it is this year, yes. So we decided to stop this activity. You can see here that there are also not so many interested people, these visitors, and about 70, and 58 visiting fellows have submitted 61 proposals, and from these 8 were funded. So Czech Science Foundation will finish with this at the end of this year. We don't know, in fact, why was this interest so small. So, and then there is a ERC mentoring initiative. So I think that about it will be the next talk mainly, I expect. And ERC identifies a pool of mentors among its grantees and former evaluators available to provide training, scientific feedback, and so on. To mentor ERC applicants in less performing countries. So these are these national contact points. And you see here participants in the year 2021. And among them, there is Czech Republic, represented by Technology Center of Czech Academy of Sciences, and it closely cooperates with these national centers points. So, and maybe one last slide. So, the natural questions. There are some initiatives which are provided by ERC, and now there is a question, is the situation improving with time or not? So here is a difference of success rates between Horizon 2020 calls and FP7 calls, which are these former calls, and you see here Czech Republic, which is here, and this number is positive, and it is this is a success rate, yet difference in success rate on the vertical axis, and you can see that we have this difference about 4%. But many countries, of course, have this number positive. Maybe it is also due to the fact that also funding of ERC, as I had shown on the one of the first slides, is also much higher, yes. But there is some positive hint that it will improve, that it is improving with time. And so thank you for your attention, and here are some references to web pages, and so thank you. If there are any questions, so maybe I can answer, or
we can make a round of questions. If you have any questions addressed specifically to Dr. Valkárová, please, you're welcome to raise your hand or use Slido. I don't see any question right now on Slido, so do not forget that we have this platform set for you, so do not hesitate to use it.
okay, so
There will be plenty of room for discussion after the first block of presentations, so you can, of course, keep them. But if you want to, you can raise your hand.
Okay, so if I will be able to answer the questions then, so I will, I will try to do my best. Oh, there is some question.
Faculty of Science, Charles University, project support.
Good morning. I would like to ask whether Gatcher tried to find out why the ERC fellowships in our country didn't work. Maybe contacted the institutions or researchers and tried to find the reasons. Thank you.
We tried, and some suspicion was that you have seen that agency is paying for this stays of visitors abroad, and we had some suspicion that this amount of money is too small. It was, I think, 30,000 crowns, and it was, but it was, of course, it was 10 years ago. Yes, so it was slightly different than now, and then we decided to double this number to 60,000 crowns. But anyway, it was not much better. We think that maybe so people are not so happy to travel and to spend time in these groups of ERC grantees. I have no explanation. We did not understand it. And it was, of course, it was promoted, yes, in institutions and everywhere, but I don't know.
Wasn't there also some issue that the fellows, ERC fellows, would have to be holders of junior Gatcher, and on the same time the stay would have to be at least 3 months, and for people who were, wasn't there some condition like this?
No. It was. Sorry. You are right that there was a condition that it should be people who have this junior project, but it was a condition which was done by ERC. Yes, so it was not our condition. Yes, so and this stays, these visits can be from 1 to 6 months. You are right that for these junior projects there was some condition to spend some time abroad. Yes, maybe it was too limiting for people. Yes.
We have one more question on Slido. It is about the program ERC CZ, and the question is that it hasn't been open for some time, and what are the reasons? We don't have a representative of the ministry here. Nevertheless, if you are aware of...
No. I am not able to answer. I don't know if Professor Zažímalová is able to answer. So this ERC says that is for these projects is responsible ministry, yes. And so this, I don't know. I cannot answer it, but somebody...
They submitted the program to the government for prolongation, and it was not prolonged yet. So it's in the approval period, and it's expected to start in 23. That's all I know. But so it's informal information from Ministry of Education.
Thank you. So it is in the process. So I think that it is a very good initiative, and
Thank you, Dr. Valkárová, for answering all the questions and your interesting speech from the perspective of the ERC Scientific Council. Now I'd like to pass the floor to the coordinator of the Czech expert group for supporting ERC applicants, Professor Zdeněk Strakoš. The floor is yours.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. And first of all, I would like to thank Academy of Sciences and University for helping the people who are trying to support ERC applicants. And in person, I think we are indebted to Professor Zažímalová and Professor Králíčková, and also to Professor Valkárová, who I think is really trying to do all the best what is possible in the scientific board of the ERC for a couple of years now. So I will be speaking here on behalf of the expert group for ERC applicants, which includes many colleagues, and more than they are listed in the expert group, because there are many, many other people who work with the applicants in the workshops that we organized and also privately. But I'm not going to talk about the technology of this support. There'll be a lot of time for that in the afternoon, and there'll be lectures specialized on that and discussion afterwards. I'll be a little bit more lifted into the, say, philosophy. So I would like to talk to the community, not only of the applicants, but also to the community of the people who should help applicants on the individual institutions. So my talk is kind of devoted to the broad Czech scientific, say, scientific environment. And we'll address a little bit this question, so why we do not have that many successful applicants, and what can we do to change that. We are working with applicants for many years now, personally for about 13 years. And so we do have an experience, and I think we are trying to address some of these issues, but there are some issues that we cannot address without the help of the general, say, whole scientific society, I would say. Okay, so sometimes ERC is within our country presented as a kind of a, say, strawberry on a cake, you know. And I think this is the wrong attitude. This is the part of the issue, because it is not a strawberry on the cake anymore, maybe 10 years ago or even 14 years ago, but not now. Within Europe, it is a standard, and we should take it as a standard. So that's the first step that we have to do. We have to consider ERC as a standard part of our scientific life. Without that, it will be very difficult to move forward. But before we'll go to that, I'll just start, what is the science then? And what is the place of the ERC, how it was born with that? And so I'd like to comment, to quote Henri Poincaré, a very famous scientist, say physicist, mathematician. And he said, so why the scientist works? I mean, why the scientists do the work? Well, they do because they delight to study. So that is a curiosity, initiative, that's behind. That's what is the driving force of science. It's not kind of a rules and something. Initiative of individuals. And he also addresses the question of applications, but this is not an issue now. ERC does support applications as well as the science that we would say is pure basic science. But this is not a problem within the ERC. But what is the problem now is what the Poincaré is talking about is the science as a vocation. That means we scientists have to do it because it's somehow inside of us. But the problem is that nowadays the science has moved from the profession, which is needed, of course, because we really need a large group of people who are working in science and take it as a profession. But it moved to science as a business. Business in all the sides that are negative for science. And there are many things to attribute to that, but I cannot go into detail. But that's clearly, that affects the publications, that means the way how the things are published, that affects evaluation, that affects many, many things. And what the ERC simply does, in my opinion, it tries to put it back. It tries to put it back on the track so that the science will become a vocation again, at least for those who will be the leaders. So that's, I think, the ERC really was born, and that's how it tries to work. And that's why it is absolutely essentially important. So, if we are here now, the business, and on the other side, vocation, so what the science is based on, collaboration or competition? So what are the competition good for? ERC is also based on the competition. So isn't there a problem in, say, in principle? Let's think about that a little bit. So it's clear that science is driven by curiosity. This, I think everyone would agree. Real science is really that, okay? With no restriction. But however, and that's one interesting quote again from another very famous physicist and mathematician, Cornelius Lanzos, who said, well, quite a long time ago, he said, well, that he observed in his quite a long life and complicated life a shift from it to I. That means that it's very much important that I have discovered this, or we have discovered that. That means to prestige of individuals and institutions. That's related to that what I've called the science as a business. Okay. I'm not talking about connection of science to business. That must be connected, and it's good that science is directly connected to applications. This is, don't be mistaken, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the science considered as a business, okay, with the prestige as a driving force. So what is the role of competition then? Can the competition be a good, say, driving force for the science today? And in my opinion, this is just a big mistake. It cannot, because if we take competition as something that kind of is meant personally, that I compare myself with the others, and I'm trying to run to be much better than the other one, instead of that I'm running to understand something. This is wrong. This is a lethal disease, very dangerous. And it can be used, the competition on the hand, as a tool to help the talents to develop and to grow. Okay? And so, and in order to be put in the service of all. That's, I think, it's a good principle, and that's healthy, and that's what the science is trying to do. It was born with this idea. It was even called ideas at the beginning. And so the goal was to support initiative of individuals that can grow into leaders. And also it focuses on the frontiers research, where the main issue which is involved is risk. Because the frontiers research, that means trying to look at something which is behind the horizon, which really tries to crack some very hard problem, it's risky. It must be risky. There is no other way. Well, but what does it mean to develop or help the leaders to grow? That means that when somebody is a leader, then there is a responsibility. Because if somebody is or is not a leader, that means that if he or she takes the responsibility for the others, for the field, for the part of the work that he's doing on behalf of the others, of leading the others. Leading the others means responsibility. And that's very important, not a quest for prestige. Of course, the recognition is needed, and recognition is a part of it, but cannot be a goal. A little comment on what does it mean for the institutions. And I like this comment from Jill Wells, who visited us in Prague a couple of times and who was responsible for actually helping the individual fellowships at Oxford. He said, well, the whole university is built on individual fellowships, on initiative of individuals. And it's important to invest to those who are open, who really wish to grow. And the third, very important in the Czech environment, is not only to recruit talents, but let them grow and retain them so that they are not going to leave somewhere else or leave the science, if they feel that the science is their vocation. Okay, so what is the opportunity for us then? So, as we mentioned before, ERC fosters initiative of individuals. That's how it is based. There are no collaborative grants. Even the consolidators, this synergy grants, They are not meant as a consortia kind of grants. Okay? It's based on initiative and the role of leaders of these PIs. Okay? And it really reshapes, it already has reshaped the science in Europe. You can see that. And it's clearly visible. If you look, as I've said, it already became a standard. Okay? And if we stay aside, I think we will damage ourselves. There is no other. We'll either try to get in the train in a, I would say, better way, or we'll be losers. We'll lost a lot of things. Institutions and also the whole country. So there is no other way. I think we have to get in. And that means that we really have to try to compare, or what we call excellence locally, with what is called excellence globally. That's the only way. And that the ERC is giving us the comparison. Okay? So we should take this comparison seriously. And there are some comments now that may be good. They are not from me. They are from this group of Czech Parts in Science, which is very nice, very interesting group of people who stayed abroad or who still are abroad. Some of them are going to return back. Some of them don't plan to return back. But they feel kind of connection with their home country and feel the responsibility. So they are just their opinion, with the courtesy, I'm quoting that, on what they think are the problems. And so I say, well, it's still, research environment is not welcoming to those who are returning back. I know that from, say, 20 years ago, but it's still a problem. National programs are focused locally. Yes, that's true. If you look at the programs that are trying to enforce, say, the best research, there's still some of the formulations and some of the rules are still not conforming with what, say, ERC or ERC-like view represents. And what they think is the most important thing, that there is no coordinated program for internationalization of institutions. And if there is some gap in the support on the national level, then this is filled by the initiative of individuals. And that's the case of ERC as well. And that's why I've also thanked the academy and the university for helping these people who started that as their own initiative. Okay, so what can be done? Well, I think what we can start to be more open, definitely, and we should take these inspirations that are there. I mean, it's possible to remodel. I give an example. The ERC CZ program is a very good program, and I'm thankful for. Sorry. It was mentioned here, the question, why that it has been kind of not open, the calls for the ERC CZ. Yes, this question should be addressed to the different people, I would say. And it's really crazy. I just don't understand that, because these are the people who got A and now even B in the second round of evaluation. So they went through the most difficult competition in the world for the grants. And the ERC is that. And instead of giving them the money to support the groups that are kind of ready to go, you know, there were some backslashes, etc. So Professor Zažímalová may say, so spent really a lot of effort in saving ERC CZ in the past. And also with Gatcher, I think, who contributed to that funded with the money, because the responsible people in the ministry responsible for that simply didn't act. And it was really in danger for a long time. Now I can say that things can change. And I hope there will be a call soon. And I have to declare that here the very, very positive support of Minister Langšádlová. So she really played a role in really pushing forward to put it back into the budget. It is now the money in the budget, not only for the next year, but there is an increase in the budget for this year, for the next year, is an increase, rapid increase, and then it should be in the long-term budget. So it should be secure, so hopefully it will be so. Okay. But still, within the ERC-CZ, if you then look how these proposals are then kind of checked or evaluated at the end, the programs, okay, I mean this individual course, you still have the rules like checking how many publications are done and etc. Totally meaningless if we teach that our ERC applicants, that's exactly the problem that we cope with for more than a decade, that the people are deformed by being asked how many publications will be published. Within the ERC, nobody cares. Because what ERC cares is the knowledge, is the breaking some problem, is really to pushing forward the field, and not how many publications. And this is still there, even with the ERC-CZs. So you can see how deep the problem is, okay? So we should help the people from abroad to come. Not only, I would say, foreign citizens also, but also the people who wish to return back, because this is very good for us. The flow, the circulation of brains is a natural thing that helps also to have ERC grants. If we still stay kind of a bit isolated, and we still are in terms of this, so we cannot expect that we'll be much better than we are now with the ERC grants. The same with the research assessments. Whenever we assess research, and we talk about, you know, compare with whatever, so we should use international standards. That's the only way. We are not an island somewhere in the ocean. They're just surrounded by nothing. So we should just use the same standards as these more successful people, more successful countries use. And systematically support individuals, the talents that are able to apply. When I'm talking about that, I don't by no means mean that we should build up some kind of a selected group of people who do apply or who do get ERC grants in comparison to others. No such comparison. If there will be like that, I would not work for this ERC improvements. But simply we have different responsibilities. We have different duties. If we consider it as a vocation, so for somebody is a vocation to work in the best science and has the talent for that, that's fine. Somebody has talents for something else. And there is no comparison what is better, what is other, but because we need all. We do all need ERC, and a success in ERC grants of somebody is a success for all of us. Okay? That's the view which we should take. Okay? So now a bit words about what is this existing support. So what does this expert does? This expert group for ERC applicants was formed based on this, I've said, long-term initiative of a group of people, and then it was formalized and supported also, as I mentioned at the beginning, by the Academy of Sciences and Charles University, and hopefully soon also by some other institutions. And this support is now, I would say, reasonable, is very solid, and I'm very, very thankful for that, because it really we are looking for the better future of the ERC with that. So we organize a system that's been developed together with Technology Center, with the national NCPs, starting with Petra Fedorová Perutková, and then Zuzka Šimek, and now with Lida. And I think this is a system of workshop. It's very well thought. The system of workshops that will take place through the whole year, actually. This preparation, we work with these applicants essentially 1 year. And then, what was the second, and this is what I would like to underline here, is the support for creating a running ERC pipelines of individual institutions. This is something which is missing, and what really undermines the whole effort of the expert group, and what is the important thing to do. I mentioned it a little bit later. And also individual consultations, we are very thankful for the discussion with Gachr, because that really will help, and it already goes on. And again, thank to Professor Valkárová, because we are in contact for a couple of years already about that. I think it's very, very positive movement in that. And raising undistorted awareness, I've mentioned that, that's what we are here for. So now I'm going back to this second point, support for creating and running ERC pipelines. You know, the problem is that now we are in the situation that the people applying for ERC and the institutions think, okay, so now I'm here, I will just register for the first workshop of the expert group, and you are here to do it for me. That cannot work. That cannot be done. We do our best, and we spend a lot of energy and a lot of time with trying to work with ERC applicants, but we cannot do it for themselves. And if somebody applies to enter the workshop and never seen any ERC application, have even didn't read the ERC work program, has no knowledge what the ERC is, didn't dare to prepare CV and the track record properly for the ERC, we are helpless. We cannot do anything. That must be done on the institutions. That means the basic support, the working with the talents years ahead must be done with institutions, with the prospective PhD students already, then sending them abroad for getting an experience, and then working with them just systematically to develop very good track record, very good CV, and then eventually enter our ERC workshops. Because we can work only with these prepared people. That's what Jill Wells from Oxford said, work with those who are open, who wish to go through this, because it is really a painful process. It cannot be done, even Gachr is doing the best now, what can be done, but Gachr cannot mimic ERC. So things will be different, always. So you cannot just, some people think, okay, just take some local grant and I'll just put it as a ERC. That cannot work. Because it's like with the chess, you know. In the chess you can play better or worse. But the problem is that with the ERC, you simply play a different game. You use the same chessboard, but you play a game which is much tougher and uses different rules than we can apply here always, even if we think about excellent science locally. So that's a problem, and people who wish to apply must understand that. We are here to help them, but the institution must understand that. They must create an environment for these people to be ready, to have time to really prepare very solid application. There are such institutions here in our country, and I see some representatives in the audience of that, where such a system works. And you can see the crop also, because they are taking ERC grants regularly. But this must be done in all institutions that wish to have ERC grantees. Otherwise, it cannot work. If we are under the pile of many people who wish to apply but who are not ready, this whole system of help that we organize as an expert group will essentially collapse, because we will not be able even to work with those who are ready. Okay, so that was an appeal, and that's what I meant when it is right in Czech. When I'm saying so, I am not a pessimist, but I am a realist, and so that's how the situation is at the moment. Okay. So quickly to the end. So what does the situation require? Well, we should leave the comfort of what is sometimes called the Czech science. It's just a little bit unfortunate name. It should be meant as a science in the Czech Republic. We can use the Czech science, but we should mean the science in the Czech Republic, not the science of Czechs. That's one of the problems we still have, because many people think it is a science of Czechs. This is wrong. Okay, and we should leave this attitude that we simply don't need ERC, because why? And then we should realize that if the people who are ready to apply, and that they spend this year of preparation, this is very beneficial for them, even if they don't get ERC grant at the end, because it changes their view how to look at their own work. They then after that really think ahead for 5-10 years and think in a way, what should I devote the 10 years of my life in work, I mean, working life too. What should be? Is it worth? And it is not worth to just apply for one little grant, other little grant. If you have a program that what I would like to focus on, I have a hard problem. This is a program. ERC is about the program. It's not about the grant. It looks like a grant, but it's really about the growth of the leaders, I've said. So this is a program. And finally, institutions should understand that even if it is tough, and it is not easy, we understand that, it's not easy because we were isolated for a long time. Again, Professor Valkárová mentioned that, or Professor Zažímalová mentioned that for our generation it was much more difficult than for the younger generation. But, you know, in the long, so it's not easy now to switch. It cannot be a revolution we did in 1 year. But in the long run, it is very, very rewarding to work for getting ERC grants and to incorporate, to change the situation, because it will change the whole environment. And this is, I think, what is the chance for all science in the Czech Republic, to follow the idea of ERC. Not only the numbers of the grants, but follow the idea, because then the numbers of the ERC grants will grow naturally with that. Okay? There's also work to be done on the side of ERC. Professor Valkárová mentioned that a bit, widening, but there's also some other issues, but this is for different times, so I'm not going to talk about that. ERC is not, say, ideal. It cannot be ideal. It's done by people, but it's definitely the best institution of that kind in the world. Incomparable. Well, maybe comparable to some, but if comparable, then definitely best, even in the way how the proposals are evaluated and how the whole system is managed and run. Okay, so thank you for your patience and time, and I'll be open for any discussions that you may have after these talks. And of course, we will talk much more about the practical issues, about how to write proposals, etc., in the afternoon. So you can take my thing as a appeal, as an introduction. Then Michal Hocek and Pavel Jelínek and the others who will be here from the expert group will then will address in detail some practical issues. Okay? So we can return back after this group of talks to whatever I have said or anything else, what you like to address me, and then of course also in the afternoon. So thank you very much, and I'd like to encourage you, please do consider ERC as an important part of our life of the science in the Czech Republic. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Zdeněk. Now I'm sharing my presentation. Just a second. It'll be a follow-up to what Zdeněk said. It will reflect the ERC ideals in practice. So I'll focus on what the application looks like, what the ERC schemes are, and on the process itself. So as you probably know, the ERC, together with the MSCA and the research infrastructures, is part of the first pillar of Horizon Europe, which is a bottom-up pillar, and it differs very much from the rest of the framework program from the calls within the clusters. So the ERC has coined 5 different schemes. There are 3 schemes focused on individual applicants. Then there is a very interesting collaborative scheme, which is very unique within Horizon Europe. It is the ERC Synergy Grant Scheme. And then there are ERC Proof of Concept. So the individual grants, which form the core of the ERC, are aimed at individual researchers, but those projects are also implemented with the team. So do not have like a misleading idea that there is just one person behind the whole project. The ERC grants, those three schemes differ in the maturity, in the scientific age of the applicant. Not so much, the conditions are the same. There are two, as will be explained a bit later on, there are two main criteria, the quality of the PI and the project. This remains the same throughout those schemes, but what is different is the maturity of the PI and also the ambition, the expected ambition of the project, which is reflected in the amount of funding that can be requested. As for the ERC synergy grants, they are intended for a team of 2 to 4 PIs. Each of the PIs has his or her own team, and those projects are supposed to address a challenge which one PI with his or her team would not be able to cope with alone. So, as you can see, those projects can last 6 years, and PIs, the team can request up to 10 million euro. So what is really attractive about ERC is that it allows for a long duration of projects. There is a huge flexibility, and the time to really address those problems is incomparable to other schemes available in the world. And the last scheme is, as you can see, is for a limited time. It is only for those who have already obtained an ERC grant in the past, and the aim is to try to bring the findings of those 2 main schemes the ERC has closer to the practice, to the society or the economy. This year, there is 2023 work program active or in force. 2 calls have already been closed. The starting grants and the synergy grants have already been submitted, so we are impatiently waiting for the evaluation. And now you can apply for consolidated grants, and shortly advanced grants call will be opened. And there are also continuous opportunities, or there's this possibility to apply throughout the year for a proof of concept grant. As you can see, the eligibility is very clearly defined in the work program. There is a window how mature, how old a PI should be. So there are cut-off dates for starting and consolidator grant applicants, but there are no criteria for advanced grants because the main or the basis for evaluation of the quality of the PI is his 10-year track record. So he can be 10-year postdoc and older. The ERC also acknowledges certain grounds as, let's say, justified reasons for extending this eligibility period. Newly, we have 2 other reasons since the work program 2023. These are natural disasters and if there is any, let's say, situation which requires the scientist to seek for an asylum. This is also reason for the extension in the eyes of the ERC. PIs are not expected to work full-time on ERC projects. The older the scientist, the more work he is expected to have, so the time commitment is in ERC projects specifically is lower. So for starting grants, you are expected to work on 50% capacity, and the older you are, it is getting lower. What I have not mentioned yet is that to be eligible to apply for an ERC grant, the scientists can be from any country in the world. The PI can be of any nationality, but the host institution must be based either in a member state of the EU or in a country associated to Horizon Europe. So this is, you should always check which countries are newly negotiating association, as this list is still being developed. As you know, it might be interesting to some of you, and it is very relevant for synergy grants. If you wish to apply with the PI from the UK, those PIs are still considered eligible, just as if they were coming from an associated country. So within the synergy, it is definitely not a problem. You can also apply with Swiss applicants who are otherwise, unfortunately, not eligible to apply for ERC grants anymore. This is what you can see on the screen. This is an important, let's say, restriction for applicants, which you should keep in mind when you apply for a grant, because if you feel that you still should work on your proposal a bit more, it is recommended very much to wait a bit, because otherwise you might face this trouble of having to wait for a year or two, because the ERC really wishes to push you a bit to think about your proposals more and to really apply when you feel that you are mature enough and your proposal is well prepared. So this is one of the most important things you should keep in mind, and not to apply when you are not eligible anymore, or for the time being, let's say. It happens, unfortunately, quite often because people forget this slight nuance. Now, I will very briefly show how to apply in practice. So, just for any other Horizon Europe project, you will apply via the Funding and Tender Opportunities portal of the European Commission. Or here you can see where to search for those calls. So you will simply type ERC, or you will use the search engine. Right now we have the ERC Consolidator grants call open, so we will take a look at that. If you scroll down, there is the Start Submission button, so you simply click on that, and then you this is how the portal looks when you are already in the submission system. I have highlighted how to download templates because this is a very requested question, very frequent question. And now let's move on to what the proposal actually looks like. So the part A it is submitted via the system itself. It is an electronic part, but you should not leave it as the very last thing you will think about when preparing your proposal. There is the budget part, not just the table, the actual numbers you request, but also the justification. It should be submitted via the online form. What I would mention is that it is a bit different with regard to synergy grants, because it should be divided. It is also reflected in the B2 part, which is not the case as far as individual grants are concerned. And also there is self-assessment chart for ethics and security issues. You should really think about if you have, for instance, collaborator from a third country, this poses any issues possibly for the project. And then we have two parts which are scientific. They form the core of the proposal. In the first round, only the part BA is evaluated, and in the second round, part B2, together with the budget. As for the budget, what I'd like to mention is that it is very flexible compared to other Horizon Europe projects. Even after the grant agreement is signed, the PI can request change to the budget structure, so their transfers between those categories are possible. What is very important, and I recommend to take a look, is a leaflet my colleagues prepared. Over here there is this yellow arrow, so please take a look at the recommendations from our Czech financial and legal SCPs, how to structure, how to think about the budget, and above I have written the email address, so if you have any financial questions, please contact my colleagues. They will be happy to help you. Another thing which is worth mentioning is that apart from the main budget that you can request for ERC project, there is also opportunity to ask for additional funding, which is 1 million for those 3 individual grant schemes, or 4 million for an ERC project, for synergy project. So if you, for instance, if the PI is moving from third country to the EU, the PI is, there is this possibility to request additional funding, or, for instance, if some field work is planned, also additional funding can be requested. There are 4 reasons for requesting this additional budget, and you should not be afraid to ask if this is relevant to you. I will just very briefly mention that because we have the whole presentation devoted to evaluation. As it was mentioned, ERC projects are bottom-up, therefore you will not find any top-down or predefined priorities. What is important is to solely find the most suitable scientific panel for your project, and the choice can be really the crucial issue when deciding if evaluators will really be able to grasp the essence of your project. So it is important to think about it really thoroughly, which of the panels is the best for your particular project idea. I have listed the most important documents that you should go through when preparing your project proposal. It is not only the work program, but importantly also the information for applicants, where you will find supporting documentation that, for instance, you should submit together with your proposal if you request extension of your eligibility window, and so on. And finally, Zdeněk has touched upon that, so I will be brief. We are, as NCPs, very thankful to the network or the established community of former grantees and of evaluators that help to prepare future applicants for the submission of their proposal. I have listed the names of current members of the ERC expert group. We have a web page which is linked further on. Apart from the event that you are participating in today, which is considered the first step if you wish to apply for an ERC grant, we also organize workshops for applicants. So if you have already an idea, a clear idea, and you think that you would like to apply in that particular year, you are welcome to register for the workshop series. It has 3 parts, and we will start again in spring. We will have a call. Unfortunately, we are not able to accommodate and accept everyone because the interest is high, and we really wish to prepare those who are seriously thinking about applying that year to make it also as beneficial for all the applicants as possible. So please prepare your materials as well as possible, because they will be evaluated. So it is not like first come, first served, but really please prepare your proposals, and we will be happy to help you as much as possible. For those who have already got into the second round of evaluation, we also organize mock interviews. And finally, we wish to help the institutions. Zdeněk has spoken about the reasoning why this is important to really support the system as a whole. So we will be happy to have you as participants in those training as well, in that training as well. Apart from that, my colleagues, together with me, we are preparing a brochure for ERC applicants. It will be in Czech, so you will be able to read about what is important, like some tips, what to consider when preparing an ERC proposal. And finally, if you wish to ask for an event, a workshop, more focused for your needs, like you can really contact us, me or my colleagues who are financial and legal NCPs, and we will prepare a workshop for you. Finally, I would like to mention a program which has been already touched upon during the first round of questions. It is the ERC CZ program financed by the Ministry of Education, Youth and Sports. And so if you feel that you wish to apply, but you are afraid that the competition is quite high, very high, there is this alternative program which will fund your project in case it is considered as of high quality by the ERC, and we hope another call will be announced soon. So over here you can find links not only to the website of the Czech expert group, but also other important sources that will help you with the preparation of your proposal. So this is it from my side, and I'll be very happy to answer your questions, as well as other speakers who are on the panel. So I will start. So we, during the registration, we received several questions, and we will provide answers to them right now. Please, Zdeněk.
So, I'll just read the question first and then I'll address it. So the first question was, I would like to understand what is the best strategy to choose a research topic when also applying for other grants like Gotch Junior Star. That's an option for the starting. It's fine to use the same research topic or for both proposals, or it is better to invent different topic for the two proposals. A good question, and there is no clear strategy. I mean, you can do both, but you must be very cautious with one thing. ERC is kind of a very exclusive tool. So if you then write your ERC proposal and then say, well, but I have already at the same time launched the proposal in the national fund, whatever, on a national source, and it is essentially the same. That means it overlaps 80% or something. It's dangerous because it can be thought, okay, if they're able to fund it nationally, so why we should spend the ERC money for that? It's not that that should be done in the ERC, but I have seen that in the comments of the evaluators. And we also had an experience that one of the proposals that was evaluated in the second round of evaluation 2 times was essentially killed, I am afraid, by such a notion. So you must be then very cautious to explain what is the relationship. An ideal relationship, if you decide to use the same topic, is then to say, okay, I am applying for this Junior Star, and this will be for me kind of a seed of proof of concept for what I'm launching in the ERC, in the full-scale ERC. You should, in the ERC, explain, ideally, at the end of your proposal, why I'm doing so, because the other scheme would not allow me to do things that I would be able to do with the ERC, okay? So it should be clear that are not on the same level. Otherwise, you can kill your ERC proposal. Of course, you can also do things like, okay, if at the time I don't know what I'm getting because it's competitive. Junior Star is also competitive. So at the end, I will then make a choice. If I'm getting ERC, so I reduce or even drop my ERC Junior Star. This is also possible. But don't do things like I am launching exactly the same or very closely related proposal. I'm very closely overlapping proposal. And then I will make a choice. This is not a good thing. This is not, you are not in the situation of, say, applying for a job. This is a different story. And you are a little bit like in the situation of sending something to evaluate for the publication. You also do it just to one place, not to 7, and then I will just make a choice. So you should be a little bit cautious with that. But it is possible to have an overlapping thing. This is not a big problem if it is written properly. And I would encourage you even to do so. And we have recent experiences with that the people who launched actually submitted for Junior Star and sent down for the ERC, then got the ERC, and then we'll just proceed with the ERC, not with Junior Star, because it would not be manageable. That can happen, and everyone would understand that. But you should not, again, send essentially the same proposal. Okay? And it's, Junior Star is also demanding scheme. So if you would be able to do both at once, I doubt it. I would myself never do that, because Junior Star should be also taken seriously. It's very exclusive and should be taken as something that its ideal situation is to launch the Eurostar or to submit very early in your career, and this will support your ERC application later. That's the ideal situation. Sometimes happens, and it happened already many times, I would say a couple of times, that the people who at the end didn't get the money from the ERC then applied for Eurostar and were successful because the proposals were good. This is also a good thing. But the ideal would be, and this is, I think, I'm very thankful for the GACHR that's doing that apply for the Eurostar very early in the career so that you can still then apply for the starting ERC grant a little bit later. Because this will be very, very supportive for you, the same as a Lumina or Primus. Okay, that does the same thing. So that's good. I would like to know how to find out who could be the potential referees. It's a little weird question. So first, don't try to find out, because this would be the dead end forever in the ERC, okay? Because of the breaking of research integrity. Don't do it. Don't try to touch the panel members. What you can do, you can look at the panel members who served 2 years, or not the year before you applied, but the year before that, because some of the panel members would be there. But don't touch them, don't write them, don't contact anyone. The name of the chair of the panel is known because it is on the ERC webpage. It is not always I would say beneficial. I can confess that as serving as a panel chair, and I had some very, very funny and I would say weird experiences that I had to then resolve with the help of the ERC lawyers, because some people did contacted me as a panel chair for things that I simply, and I didn't contact them back because, but there were cases then. And so okay, don't touch people whom you know that they are in the panel, even if you know, don't do it, please, okay? On the other hand, if you look back and you have a feeling, what kind of the feeling of the panel, look also at what kind of proposals were funded by the panel. Because if you are trying to decide which one, what Lida have said, it's very important to make a good choice if you are in between. Okay? So look at the proposals that funded in the previous years, look back at who were the people who served in the panel, but don't touch anyone. Does the successful proposal in the field of natural sciences need to include also the application of the method techniques which are being established, developed during the project? For this, the advice is please read carefully the work program. You have a table, what questions must the evaluators answer, how they have to structure their own responses, okay? And put that, I'm always recommending to applicants, please print it out in color, put it in front of your eyes on the wall next to your table so that you can see it every morning. It is very important because you have to offer answers for them. And this is exactly that, you know, there is some question of what is the methodology, whether it is inventional or not phrased in this way, but essentially in principle. Of course, yes, it's very hard to say that I will just crack some problem with all the things that's essentially a standard. This proposal would end, okay, that's a good idea, but it's just a standard proposal. It's a good proposal, but not for the ERC, that's it. So be cautious with that. It should be. Doesn't mean that sometimes the novelty can be in combination standard methodologies that has not been done before. That's perfectly okay. This is not a problem with that. But if there is nothing new in the methodology part, it will hardly be a winning proposal. It must be some invention, some new idea in how to use what is available. Of course, you are not developing everything from scratch. You are not starting building up mathematics with say, old Greek works. So, what is considered good CV for starting grant? How many publications are enough? Irrelevant question. I've said number of publications is not an issue. Of course, if you have none, this is not a problem. You must be credible. The CV must make you credible in the eyes of the evaluator for doing the job. I propose to do a perpetual motion machine, okay? Then I cannot be credible because it's undoable. But if it would be credible, that it must be clear that I'm on absolutely top in the world, okay, for doing things like that. And for the starting, you must be independent of your PhD. I don't mean topic-wise. It might be rooted in a topic-wise in some sense, not a continuation. It must be new ideas. But person-wise, you must be distinct from your PhD advisor already. You must be independent. So independence is the, say, absolute rule for the starting. For the consolidator is that you already have a group and you consolidate it. Again, you see with the ERC, the things make sense, the words make sense. And for advanced, essentially, you must already be a leader in the world scale. So that's what it. So the number of publications is not really important. If you have 2 publications and you devised a theory of relativity kind of thing, then there's a good chance that you can make it. Though the Einstein never got the Nobel Prize for the theory of relativity. So even this can be dangerous. So, but of course, yeah, we can talk about that later if you like, a bit. PhD award period in starting vary from 2 to 7 years. How can a starting grant proposal of 2 years compete with one with 7 years experience? How this is taken into account? The ERC evaluation is not based on awarding some points to the proposal. It is based on a discussion. Of course, there are some individual evaluations preceding this discussion, but the results of that are only used as a basis for the discussion. So discussion is the main thing, and of course these people are, I would say, really in general top people in the field, but also very experienced people, not only say professionally, but also I would say on the personal way. So they know how to do it, and it is taken into account. So don't worry about this. Just a question, why was the supervision of graduate students and postdoctoral students removed from the structured CV for starting grant meant in this template and consolidated grant applicants? It is connected with any larger shift in evaluating excellence of the PI, leading younger researchers no longer considered or emphasized. I don't think so. I don't know exactly why it was removed. I don't know if Professor Valkárová knows. But yes, okay. But it is important, still. I mean, it is important, and you should emphasize what is your role in supporting your environment, the researchers. The best qualifications would be if you have already ERC grantees in your team that grow in your team, you know, before. So if out of your team are the people who are excellently placed on excellent places in the world, of course, mistakes can happen, and I have seen the proposal recently that was evaluated even as C, unfortunately, in the first round, and the guy who, the person who applied, essentially played a role in say development of the other person who got ERC grant, so from her team. So it can happen mistakes, but they happen very, very often, and I think this is very important thing in the evaluation. I don't know if you wish to comment on that. It works.
I think that it is because the main emphasis is done in ERC in the project, yes. So so it is not so, probably not so important. Now there is some change in thinking of ERC that probably it is not so important, yes. So main emphasis is connected with a project, yes. So maybe here we have officer of ERC, so maybe she will be able to explain it better than me.
I have a response to this question because it was really done in the sake of fairness, because in some countries, and especially it was done for the widening countries, it's almost impossible until you reach the stage of a docent, habilitation. You cannot have PhD students in some institutions, so that's done for the sake of fairness. It doesn't mean that it's not important, but the beautiful thing about ERC is that you can choose what you will present in your CV, and you can show your strengths wherever they are, and it doesn't have to be in leading the early career scientist. So if you are a scientist with a PhD from 2 to 7 years, it's perfectly possible that you simply don't have any PhDs to lead, and it's not your fault. So that was done for the good sake. Yeah, it doesn't mean that it's not important, but it's not a criterion to be measured, and it would not be fair to measure it because simply sometimes it's not possible.
So if I may add that that's an excellent example of how ERC develops, that if they feel the people with the ERC, because it's run by the leading scientists, so that something would be unfair, they work on that, and that's good. I mean, so, of course, template is just a template. You can include that. You can even put a headline there. That's perfectly okay. Write in your CV and track record things that you are strong in. Okay? Not the things that you can also leave some of the points. This is not a problem to have to fill every item. But don't change it completely, because they will make troubles to evaluators. But as has been said, it is important, but for the sake of this problem, formal problem on our side, it was removed from the, say, formal recommendation. But do it if you have. But you can do it in different ways. You don't need to be a formal leader, but you stays abroad, you can be a mentor for somebody or whatever. You have now a group of young people, or you can affect them in other way. Please write that. This is always what I recommend. Please expand this part. Don't make just the list but of people, but expand this part and explain what you have already done for the people in your group. It is very important for consolidators. Then it's really a part of, because you are supposed to consolidate what already exists. For the starting, you may have none if you are at the very beginning. That's not a problem. So then don't write it. But you have something, please do it. Write it down. Last one. It is necessary required to have corresponding author publications as proof of independence for the ERC starting grant. Definitely not. And it is in many fields, there is no corresponding. In our field, mathematics, computer science, we are strictly alphabetical. So there is no corresponding and non-corresponding. That doesn't make any meaning. So, but in the other fields, biology, chemistry, it is important. So it should be clear that you have publications where you were the leader already before you apply for the ERC grant. Otherwise, it would not work. Because again, one of the questions that the evaluator must answer is whether you have shown the record of independent original thinking. How they can answer that if you don't have any publications where you show that you were the leader and it is an important publication? So you must be credible. So that's it.
Maybe one more comment that were not discussed here yet, and these are multi or interdisciplinary proposals. This is always a problem. I served for years as a panel member or a panel evaluator, and even though these proposals are supported on the paper, it's very difficult to evaluate them. And if you can mark several panels, 1, 2, 3 panels that are eligible to evaluate your proposal. However, one is always a major one. And the problem with proposals is that people are, of course, strongest in their own discipline. So these proposals, even though that they intend to use interdisciplinary or multidisciplinary approaches, are always the best in the discipline that is the discipline of the applicant. So be very careful. And if you propose some multidisciplinary proposal, always pay very much attention to prepare also a quality proposal from point of view of other disciplines. So the proposals are not always very well balanced. And then it is always very contradictory evaluation from different panels, and this is always a problem. And only few of such proposals go to the step 2. So this was just a comment. Thank you.
No, that's very true. I mean, it's very hard to evaluate, and success rate of interdisciplinary proposals are much worse in general because it's difficult. And so, well, but it's good to do it, but must be prepared very cautiously. Okay, last thing from my side. Please consider if you submit ERC grant and you are in the second round of evaluation. So think ahead of time, before you get the final result, about reapplication, because it can happen that you will get the result and it's negative. But still, even if you have a B, so you can reapply immediately. And sometimes it's such that you have a proposal that it got B in the second round of evaluation, and then shortly after that is a deadline for submission next year, and you can submit. So think about that. Of course, it doesn't make sense to submit, or can make sense, but it's good to learn a little bit. So within the year, something happened in this year. So you can think a bit how you would reshape your proposal for that purpose and reapply. This is important in particular when you are still in the same category. And the next year you would be in a consolidated category, for example. Or next year you will be not a consolidated but advanced category. Even there is a smooth transition. There is no kind of a strict change. But, you know, if you are still starting, it's a little bit easier for you to be evaluated as a starter than as a consolidator if you wait for one more year, okay? So consider this option.
Thank you, Zdeněk. So we have several questions on Slido. I will go through them quickly before the lunch. So, will the presentations be available after the event? Yes, both the presentations and the recording will be available on the Horizon Europe website, the Czech portal of Horizon Europe. So, everything will be made publicly available. Another question is the 18 months extension for each child born before or after the PhD award used, even if the applicant returned to work earlier than after 18 months. Yes, it is standard. So for each child born before or after, mother can request 18 months extension. If the actual maternity leave and paternity leave together were longer, and it can be documented, the period can be, the requested extension can be even longer. We have already answered this question about presentations. Another one. Why proof of concept grants are open only to ERC investigators? Maybe it would help to have proof before application for ERC grant to convince panel reviewers. I'll ask Zdeněk or...
The proof of concept means that something which has been developed within the ERC grant will be kind of on a half-wave developed towards the, say, industry. So that's the meaning, so that's the answer.
Can be a proof of independence from PhD advisor, first author publication with postdoc advisor.
Well, you know, of course, you don't need to present publications where you are the sole author. In many disciplines, it is even impossible. But it must be clear that you are the author of some of the ideas that can be considered original, okay? So it is not a problem that you are with this or that, but it must be clear what was the part of the work that we have done on that which is evaluated.
PIs usually don't allow their postdocs to be corresponding authors, even though the postdoc developed the project solely from scratch. How to deal with that?
Explain in your track record what was your role in this publication. That's it. And if there are some bureaucratic obstacles, mention them. ERC people read that and they take into account some rules that you have seen just in the previous thing this how comments on the habilitations here in our countries has changed the action of ERC. So don't worry and explain the matter if there is some bureaucratic difficulty.
Please do the brochure in English. Applications are in English, I guess. Well, there are, I think, many handbooks, many publicly available materials in English. My colleagues, my predecessors really try to focus on the Czech community, so the materials we prepare will be, yes, we try to, for instance, the recommendations related to budget are in Czech, but of course, if you are a foreigner applying in cooperation with Czech host institution, my colleagues and I will be available to answer any question in English as well, so do not hesitate to contact us. This is not a problem.
Maybe a little comment on that. There are some brochures on the webpage of the Charles University that are both in Czech and in English. They are not that, I would say, wide because they were done a couple of years ago, but they are quite a good essence, good core of this, and you can find them in English. This is not a problem. Just look at the webpage of the Charles University and the ERC. It's called something like how to write a competitive proposal or something like that, other titles.
What is the best strategy to apply for a starting grant? Also, I heard that as an unwritten rule for starting grant is having one corresponding author publication.
I think we have already answered that. So.
It has been mentioned during registration. What is a credible CV for an advanced grant applicant? I had lots of postdoc experience, but less as senior scientist. Publications, project experience, H-index.
Not H-index. Forget about it. Forget about number of citations. ERC has signed already the DORA, if you know that what it is, and the evaluation is based on the quality, not on the quantity. But what is? Well, you must show, you propose something which should solve the problem that is very important and is very difficult. Maybe it is there for years or maybe it just emerged, but it's clear that it is difficult. So that means it is assumed that in order to be credible, you already have done similar things before. That means that you have cracked some hard problems, so you have a record of original contributions worldwide. That's what it is. That's what kind of give your credibility for advanced grant. Not the numbers. Don't list. People in the Czech Republic, we call it that all the time, write lists of publication, lists of people. Everybody can write a list. This is not an issue. You must have clear contribution and explain that. What is your contribution and why it is so? And they have to think, oh yes, he showed that this was really interesting what you've done in the past, so there's good chance that whatever will matter, it's worth the money. ERC is not checking whether you really filled the proposal entirely, that you have done exactly what you have promised. But it must be clear that something important will come out. And this credibility is based on what you have done in the past.
A consolidator grant PI never had PhD students. How bad is it? Any suggestions how to strengthen the CV?
I think we have talked about that already. It's good to explain your situation, so it must be clear why. If you were in the environment where it is normal to have PhD students at your age, then it is bad. If you were in the environment, or if there is some reason for that, why, and you worked with these people around you in another way, explain that. But this explanation should be convincing.
Can one apply for the advanced grant if you have not won a starting or consolidator grant and have a recently established research team?
This is not a problem. If you have a very original project and the project is really, I would say, like, the evaluators will get excited about this project. Why not?
Would the career break period out of academia be considered in counting the years after graduation for starting grant applicants? So career breaks such as unemployment are not considered reason for extension, contrary to MSCA. In ERC, this is not justified reason.
Maybe just little thing. What is the reasoning? ERC doesn't distinguish between academia and whatever. You can be from whatever institution. This is not an issue. And it is not also, sometimes it's portrayed as just only pure science. It is not true. I have seen in the panel that I have served in for years, many proposals that were very practical. Okay, so that's why. I mean, there is no point here, unfortunately, for the applicant.
What does the requirement of 50% or 30% PI involvement mean in practice at Czech universities? In the UK, grants pay for a buyout of the PI from other duties.
That's based on the agreement with your institution. So, you know, it's highly recommendable, and that's also a problem within the Czech Republic, that the people think about it for the last moment, and then there is no agreement between the PI filing a proposal and the institution. Even if what was previously called a letter of commitment, now it's called differently, but it's the same thing, of the institution is required. So that means that you should, before you apply for the ERC grant, be in agreement with your institution. What would that mean if you get the ERC grant? That's highly recommendable to do that, because it's win-win strategy. It's good for you, it's good for the institution. Both parts should acknowledge that, but should make it clear a priori what would happen if the money would come. Okay? So this is just a matter of gentleman's agreement. But that should be done ahead of time, not afterwards, because afterwards it can lead to leaving with the ERC grants to other institutions, and this is very bad. That happens in the Czech Republic, unfortunately.
Perhaps I would elaborate on that, the buyout mentioning. I think what is meant, from my point of view, is that the percentage that is stated in the work program, it is not what is requested, it is the minimum. So if you want to work more on the project, it is fine. It depends how much time you wish to devote to the project. Those are the minimum time commitments. So if your institution is fully willing to employ you for full time for the project, and of course the salary that you will receive from the project, from the ERC project, will reflect that, it is up to you. This is solely up to you. If you have other commitments, the ERC allows those lower time commitments, but if you wish to work full time, it is up to you. And the last question, can a PhD student who is in the 4th or 5th year of their PhD, is he allowed to apply for ERC grant?
No, 2 years after PhD, and again there is a good rationale for that, because then ERC would be flooded with the applicants that would not be ready. It doesn't mean that there are not people who are ready already in that time, but please apply them in the first moment that you are eligible.
So it was the last question posted on Slido. We are slightly well behind the time, and there is lunch for you prepared. So those who are participating, are watching us online, there will be a break, lunch break, and afterwards we will come back and we will have 2 interesting presentations about how ERC proposals are evaluated in practice, and we will have a unique guest from the ERC Executive Agency here. So I look forward to meeting you after the break. Thank you.